Hey, this is Ryan Evans with Catalyst Machineworks. I'm also sometimes known on the interwebs as Retorius. I just want to talk to you today about the new 2020 race frame from Catalyst. It's called the MOFO. Let's get into it. So it's designed for 5-inch props. We will be likely offering at least a 4-inch version, maybe 3-inch as well. But for now, we're just talking about the 5-inch. So the basics is a 3 center plate design. We've got top plate, mid plate, bottom plate, and then have optional braces as well. The arms are constrained with some alignment features which are milled into the carbon plate. Okay, and we have some tight tolerance features here, which provides some surfaces for alignment and to constrain them during crashes. So you might be wondering, well, are those layers of carbon going to hold up to impacts? We think they will. That being said, this is a little bit of an experiment, but we've incorporated some features to minimize the risk of that happening. Mainly, the arms come together and contact each other, as well as this center screw, which is there to tighten the plates together. Those are all going to share the load on impact. If it becomes necessary, I don't think it will, but it's there. It's kind of a just in case. Put an extra hole here and here that can have a screw go through it and fasten it down the other side with a nut. Crank it down real hard, and that will allow that screw to share the stress that gets put on it. That should negate any issues we might come across there. But so far, it hasn't been an issue. But it was easy to put it in there, and you can be content to ignore it if it's not necessary. Just consider that whole little bit of a weight savings, I guess. These holes here, can act in the same way. They're the stack screw holes. If you use a metal screw and have a nut on the other side, it'll work just the same. But that thing has a whole bunch of material. I really don't think that's going to be an issue. Okay, moving on. Oops. All right. Moving on, let's talk about the motor mounts. No, actually, I'll talk about the brace first. So it's going to have an optional brace. This won't be part of the default, the standard configuration, because don't actually think it's going to be as necessary as was on some other frames. We beefed up these arms. The America and the Slam Nasty frames were 6.5 millimeters wide, which was just basically just enough to stand up to the most crashes. But we did have, they do delaminate and stuff in the back when they get hit after a few times. We've beefed that up to, I think it's just under 9 millimeters. And that should be enough to make it, help it hold up to quite a lot more impact. That being said, if you just don't want to have to bother with swapping out arms during the race, and you don't mind a couple extra grams, put a brace on there, should be good to go. I'll hide that for now. You'll notice these little prongs here. Those are spaced apart to fit on pretty much any launch stand. And that's going to help it dig in and prevent it from slipping. Get it to launch at all that deep angle goodness. These other prongs out here on the ends, those are really just there to protect the motor a little bit if it takes a tumble on a hard surface. I noticed that the mounts might be rotated 45 degrees to what we normally see. That helps us save a little bit of weight in this area, a little bit of carbon in this area, but it also puts the wires off at an angle, and that makes it easy to route down the side of the arm, which puts the wires out of the way of prop strikes, which we really like. We find makes for a really robust setup. Okay, moving on to camera mounts. So It's designed to work with, well, as I mentioned, or did I mention this? Well, I mentioned it now. It can work with 20 by 20 or 30 by 30 stacks. And we have camera mounts for nano and micro cameras. This bit back here is a combination receiver antenna, video antenna, and flip stick mount. And I'll go into a little bit of details on that in a second. But let's talk about the camera mount options first. Okay, this is all the optional TPU parts we've got right now. The default, or the standard configuration uses just this small, simple adjustable mount. If you want fixed angle, we also have those going from 40 all the way up to 65 in both micro and nano cam sizes. These are the optional antenna mounts, but let me just mention first that the standard configuration, the lightest configuration, actually doesn't use that. For the lightest possible setup, you're going to want to use a zip tie around here to constrain the video antenna, and then zip ties coming off the ends of the coming off the arms, where you would use a piece of heat shrink to constrain your receiver antennas. But if you do want flip stick and kind of an all combined thing, that's what these are for. So kind of the universal version of that, if you will, is this one. It's got kind of these channels here on either side of the flip stick to route the video antenna coaxial cable. Basically, you push this thing up to the top plate, and it helps constrain that to keep the antenna from sliding in and out. It's got a little recess here for the root of these antenna lobes, if you will, and that should help it keep it from flopping around a bunch. All of these have a similar thing with the flip stick. Basically, it's got a vertical hole for that to sit in, and then you use a self-tapping screw that goes through all this. You should be able to drive it through the flip stick, but if you're having trouble with that, you can just drill a pilot hole. Or basically, put this thing in here first, drill a pilot hole with a small drill through there, and that'll help get the self-tapping screw through there, no problem. All of these have antenna tubes where you would route your receiver antenna through here, and it helps constrain the receiver, the active part of the receiver antenna, nice and straight, and they're positioned orthogonal to each other for ideal reception. Okay, these three options are for different types of video antennas. Like I say, pretty much any of them would work with this, but if you want kind of a extra secure version for an axis antenna, that's what this is for. The axis snaps into this thing right here. I've done a very similar thing on my Slam Nasty. Works absolutely great. Keeps it from moving around at all, and has this little channel here for the coaxial cable to route through, and that'll kind of route here and then connect onto my VTX in here. If you use a MMCX, or if you're just clever with UFL, lets you swap out these antennas without any tools really quickly. It actually works really, really well. This one is for SMA. This is kind of the typical straight SMA adapter. Goes through here. Whoop. Glitch. Goes through there. You just screw on the SMA and clamps on. If you want, there's a hole here for to keep the this thing from rotating at all, but that shouldn't be necessary. That's what this kind of upper surface is for. But hey, it's there if you want it. Doesn't hurt anything to not have it there, or doesn't hurt anything to have it there. All right, so on this one, since the antenna is routed down the center, I couldn't put the flip stick right there. So this one's going off here on the side, but it's constrained in the same kind of way, like that. All right, I think that about wraps it up. Let us know if you have any questions. Put them in the comments, or talk to us via email. Info@catalystmachineworks.com is the most direct spot. I think the other email address is support@catalystmachineworks.com. But like I say, we're going to be monitoring comments on the Facebook group and YouTube, and we'll get back to you, try to answer any questions you got. Hope you like it. I'm really happy with it so far. Have a good one.